You're listening to Sports Connections with David Smale, the show that brings you a fun and intimate look into connections throughout sports. Now here's your host, David Smale.
On this date, 48 years ago, Ron Blomberg stepped to the plate in the first inning for the New York Yankees in the season opener against the Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park. He walked with the bases loaded, collecting one of his 224 career RBIs. But that's not what was most significant about that plate appearance. Ron became the first batter in Major League Baseball history to have a plate appearance as a designated hitter. Controversial at the time, it's now an almost universally adopted rule. And Ron is the answer to a great trivia question. Ron, welcome to Sports Connections.
David, it's great to talk to you. That's the day I screwed up the game of baseball. April 6, 1973, against Boston up in Fenway Park. And people don't realize it. You're talking about, it's not a universal fix yet. Last year, because of the virus, it became universal. And it's 48 years later, it's still not in the collective bargaining yet.
Right.
But they will have it. I think that they will have it. But it's crazy that they haven't.
Yeah, and I said almost universally, except I was really hopeful after last year. Not that I'm a huge proponent of the DH. I like the rule, but it just needs to be the same in both leagues. So is that why you say you screwed up baseball?
No, I screwed it up because I never thought it was going to be in existence, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought it was a gimmick. It was a glorified to me, it was a glorified pinch hitter. The only reason why I became the first DH was down in spring training. I pulled a hammy right about 5 days before we were supposed to break camp. And at that particular time, we have 1 year contracts. And when you have 1 year contracts, you better produce. It's not one of these players that have 4 year deals that are making $100 million and they could be out 3 years and come back on their fourth year because they don't want to waste another 30-something million dollars. With me, when I was making like $12,000 a year, and we're very expendable. Yeah. So I pulled a hammy, and it was pretty good. I was having a very, very good spring, and I remember when I pulled it, Dick Hauser, Elston Howard, and they all came up to me. They said, Ralph wanted me to ask you, should we put you on the DL or can you play? And I looked at Ellie and Hauser and I said, I'm playing. I said, I'm not going to be a Wally Pip.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I'm not going to let that happen because back then, when you get sent down to the minor leagues, it's a very good chance you won't get called back up.
Right.
Because there's going to be somebody behind you at all times. So I told him I'm playing. So I did not play the last three games in Fort Lauderdale in spring training. We flew up to Boston. I made sure that I had ice going up to Boston. On the airplane, they wrapped me. Gene Monahan and Herman Snyder was my trainers. They wrapped me, and hey, now I'm leaving Fort Lauderdale where it's like 90 degrees. I'm going up to Fenway Park. It's like 25 degrees. So I stepped off that plane. I said, am I really going to get to play?
Yeah.
And I did. They wrapped me like a Mickey Mantle type of wrap. I was like a mummy because that, I used to see Mickey being wrapped and I felt like Mickey because they wrapped my, but see, back then we did not have any of these procedures like they do now.
Yeah.
It's none of these modern remedies that they give to these ball players. If you pull a hammy or if you pull a muscle back in the days, the coaches would say, let's spit chewing tobacco on it and you'll be okay to play. So basically, David, I'm up in Fenway Park, go to the stadium, saw my name, DH, had no idea, to be honest with you. Of course, that was the year that they started the DH, and nobody had any idea, because pitchers, majority of them, 95% of the pitchers could not hit.
Yeah.
5% they could hit. But I became the pitch hitter for the DH for Mel Stoudemire, who happened to be a super hitting pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. And as soon as he saw me as a DH, he said, what are you doing hitting for me that, I'm a good hitting pitcher? I said, you take it and talk to the boss about that.
Yeah.
So I became the DH. After the ball game, we lost 15-5. I walked with the bases loaded against Louis Tiant. The second at bat, I got a base hit. We lose the ball game 15-5. And when we lost the ball game, there was probably about 100 reporters in the, I don't know if you've ever been up to Boston before, up in the small little locker rooms, and 100, 100 people in that small little locker room is not conducive for, a lot of interviews. So people are looking at me, getting interviewed, losing 15-5, and they had no idea why I'm being interviewed. And, Marty Appel, who was our PR guy, took my bat, took the ball, took my jersey, and we're using this for Cooperstown. We're going to take it to up at the Hall of Fame up there. I said, don't take my bat, because at that particular time, we're allowed 12 bats. Nowadays, they could get thousands of bats. We're allowed 12 bats, and for the month. And if we don't have enough bats, we would have to use someone else's bat. This is like, this is what we did.
Yeah.
And so they took my bat. That was my best bat that I took out of the 12 bats that we got up in Boston. And it had at least another 50, 60 hits for me. So they took it, and I became the first DH. And, people asked me after the game, I got write-ups all across the paper that I became the first DH. And people asked me across the country, what do I think about it? I said, it'll last for 6 months, just like the designated runner rule that Charlie Finley produced. And I said, this is not going to last long. But look at it now. It's 48 years later. It's one of the highest paid position players in the game of baseball.
Yeah.
It's talked about. We got our first Hall of Fame guy in, Edgar Martinez. And our next probably Hall of Fame guy would be David Ortiz. And it's a full position player. Instead of a half a player, like I tell writers back in the day, I became a full player. And that was a day I screwed up the game of baseball. And 50% of the people love it, 50% of the people hate it. And like you said, well, you could take it or leave it, but hey, it's a very controversial part of the game.
You've answered about 4 of my questions, so I'm going to jump forward to number 5. You had a decent Major League Baseball career, 5-6 years. You were a first-round draft pick. You had a .293 career batting average, an .833 career OPS, which they obviously didn't calculate back then, but I added the stats up. Does it bother you that you are best remembered for being the first designated hitter?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, when you get drafted number 1, or when you get up in the big leagues or in the minor leagues, you want to play. Unfortunately, I got injured quite a bit. I was one of these guys that did not work out like these guys do. These guys got their own personal trainers. They got their own workout system. back when I played down when I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia was a very, very small town back in the 60s. I grew up playing baseball in all sports, basketball, football, and fortunately, I never got injured. But when I got up to the big leagues, I started pulling hamstrings. And so it really, really hurt me after I pulled muscles. And then I had a shoulder operation. Dr. Job and Dr. Curlin, who was very, very famous for the Tommy John surgery, they cut on me in California. I ran into a wall in spring training in 1977 in Winter Haven against the Boston Red Sox. I needed surgery on my my left knee. See, back then, we didn't have arthroscopic surgery back then. When they had surgeries with us, they have to go from muscle to muscle. And when you cut into muscles, that takes an extra long time to heal. And that's what happened to me. I mean, if I had a surgery like the guys nowadays with scoping, it'd been a little bit easier to get back. I would have had a longer career. But unfortunately, I had about 9 years of service up in the big leagues. It was very difficult. I did not fulfill the potential that I had. When I got drafted #1 in the country in '67, they said I was a 5-tool guy. I was, but I got injured. And it's not one of these injuries that I'm running to first base and I'm jaking. It's one of these, it's the injuries that I ran into walls. It's the injuries that I swung and hit a home run and tore my bicep tendon in my right shoulder that they had to cut into. So unfortunately, I got injured, and you probably have talked to a lot of players that got injured. And but unfortunately, that's the way I played. I gave 120%, and nobody could ever said I jaked when I was out there.
Yeah.
So when I played hard, but no, I wish I would have got into the Hall of Fame, the front door rather than the back door.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is you are in the Hall of Fame. Your bat, your jersey, the ball, you're represented in the Hall of Fame. Maybe it's not the best way to be there, but I can walk through those doors and nobody knows me. You walk through those doors and your name is written in the Hall of Fame. So you have to be able to take some pleasure from that, don't you?
Oh, I do, David. I mean, it's really, really nice when I have a camp. It's the largest Jewish sleepaway camp in the country up in Milford, Pennsylvania. It's a New Jersey wide camp. And I got close to 6,000 kids. It's just not a sports camp. It's a sleepaway camp. But I got tons of kids up there. They come to the camp just for myself. And I take them when we didn't have the virus. Unfortunately, last year was first. I've been up there for 18 straight years.
Wow.
It's really an unbelievable camp. And last year was the first year that I could not go up there and with my kids up there to normally I have a session in July and August that I would take the kids up to Cooperstown or go to Yankee games.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do it last year. And when I take the kids up to Cooperstown and when they walk through the hall, they take real good care of me, the people at the hall. And they all see my bat and they see my picture and they look at all that stuff and they said, "Coach, is that really you?" That's me. That's me. They said, "Guy, you look so young." I said, "Hey, I was 21 years old. I mean, I was a baby back then. Yeah. Now I'm 72 years old, and it's fun. It's a talking piece. That's why I had my first book, The Designated Hebrew, because of the designated hitter, and I just made it, that book up. But the book with Diane Munson, it's going to be fun, and it's called The Captain and Me, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, let's transition to that. Obviously, today is the 48th anniversary of the first at bat or first plate appearance. Well, actually, first at bat as well, which happened in your second plate appearance, but the first plate appearance by a designated hitter, period. 2 weeks from today, you will release your second book, which you just referred to, The Captain and Me, and it's all about your relationship with Thurman Munson. Is that correct?
It is, David. It's a wonderful, wonderful, great book. You know how they do, most people would do sports books, or I know about baseball books. What they do is person A will write a book about his career, about the team that he actually played on. This guy hit 280, it's 80, he hit 25 home runs. He hit them off of this pitcher and this pitcher. All the books, to me, all the books became very non-personal. They started, they talk about their career, they talk about the baseball team, they talk about the whole team. But here's a guy that I became very, very close friends with. We both was #1 draft choice. I was the #1 in the country in '67. He was the #1 draft choice out of Kent State in 1968. We became very, very close friends. Why? I don't know. We just became very, very close. Our whole family became friends. We lived together when we came up. We lived in the Holiday Inn in Paramus, New Jersey at first. And then we became very, very close friends in a sense where we roomed together on the road. Back then, you didn't have your own room.
Yeah.
We had roommates. He became my roommate. We did things on and off the field. My book is The Captain and Me, on and off the field. And it's more, I don't know if you remember the play or the movie, Bang the Drum Slowly. It's exactly like Bang the Drum Slowly, where a guy became very, very close with a guy that was sick and he was dying, and they became friends. Now, unfortunately, I didn't die. I had a lot of injuries. Thurman helped me through all those times. And unfortunately, Thurman got killed in a plane crash, of course. And but what we did, what led up to all that stuff, we did everything together. We did everything on the field. We did everything. We went out to dinner. We did stuff during the off season. We did so many telethons. We hung around with from Jay Black, Jay and the Americans, to Frankie Valli, to Lionel Richie, to Louis Armstrong, to all those guys, Soupy Sales. They became very good friends of ours. We did everything together. And the funny part, and we lived another type of life that once we met all these entertainers, we met other people through from the Italian people. And you know what I'm talking about. A few guys that we remember, Carlos Gambino and John Gotti Sr. and Jr. They became friends of ours. And we're not involved with any of the people, but they became very good friends of ours because they loved baseball. So if they love baseball, we go out to dinner with them, and people take real good care of them, and of course, people took great care of us. Okay, and so it was a type a thing, David, that we became extremely close with, and like I said, it's a human interest book. It's a baseball book where we did things together. Yeah. And another reason why Diana, since Thurman has passed away, I think there've been probably about 5 or 6 books that's been written about Thurman, and the authors have come up to Diana, who of course is Thurman's wife, She's a very, very close personal friend of mine. And I see her every year down in Yankee fantasy camp. And I said, Diane, I'm thinking about maybe doing something. And do you think I should do it? She said, yes. And I never said anything else. And so the next year I spoke to Diana and I said, I'm going to write a book about Thurman. Would you do the forward of the book? She said, absolutely. And she turned down everybody else. And people asked, why is she doing it? She said, because Thurman was like a brother to Ron. And people, and I look at the guys that got into the Hall of Fame, and there's a lot of players, to be honest with you, couldn't even put on, they're great ball players, but to me, they couldn't put on Thurman's jock. And, to me, okay. And I said, what I'm going to do, because a lot of writers and a lot of people thought Thurman was just grumpy, dumpy, and, liked to cause problems with writers. He hated writers. He didn't get along with writers. He'll tell people exactly the way it is. He'll give an answer, and a writer will ask, I want to ask you another question. I already gave you an answer. I'm not going to ask you anymore. Go. And we had a lot of writers that were actually up in New York, like Dick Young, Maury Allen, Phil Pepe.
Yeah.
It was Howard Cosell would actually come in to do, if we're in the Monday night game. And Thurman would get along with maybe a couple of those guys. But some of the guys he really did not care for. And Thurman would give him a hot foot. Somebody else is talking for him. He'll start, all of a sudden, he'll burn the guy's shoes. And all of a sudden, he'll just look down below. His shoe is totally burned off of his foot, like that. And a lot of guys, that was the type of Thurman. Thurman was in the clubhouse. He would never shave. He's the blood and guts of our team. He was our captain of our team. There was no other better captain to me, of course, to me than, Thurman. He was a George Patton. He was a guy to lead you through battle. He was a guy that would listen to you. He's a guy that if you did not give 120%, he'll get into your face and he'll murder you. Believe you, he'll murder you. Okay. Derek Jeter became the team captain after Thurman. Derek was more of an introvert than Thurman was.
Yeah.
But Thurman was our team captain. Thurman was a guy that made the team go. And people that will read this book, I'm not saying because I wrote the book.
Right.
And I'm very, very proud of the book because I've had a couple of people read the manuscript of it. They said it's incredible. And I had a couple of producers out in California that's friends of mine that read the book, and they said they are very interested once this goes out to maybe be in a documentary.
Oh, cool.
And, are they going to do it? I don't know if they're going to do it or not. It doesn't make a bit of difference, but it satisfied me.
Yeah.
Diana. It's going to satisfy people that did not know Thurman, and going to be great, that or many, many thousands and thousands of Yankee fans, or you don't have to be a Yankee fan, just a baseball fan to read the book because it's a great book.
Now, I've seen some promo stuff. Is the cover the rookie card with you and
I got it right here. Look at it. I just got they just sent me my books, a few, not all of them, but a few books. Can you see it? Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, pull it back a little bit. Yep. So that's your rookie card, right?
It is. Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's Thurman's rookie card too.
Right.
And people love this. People love this because we played in the 70s and they pull this off, and people love this the book cover because it's a really a beautiful, I got like 10 books here, and they all being sent to my relatives and stuff. And it's I love the book. I mean,
Yeah.
not because I wrote it. I mean,
Yeah.
after I read it, I'm saying, golly, Pete, did I really say this? I mean, it really came out good. Thank God, thank God I got my co-writer is Dan Epstein, who used to be one of the editors of the Rolling Stones. And he's very good. And he made this into like a play. Like here's a guy that, I mean, it's no stats. It's no stats.
Yeah.
But he made it like, here's a guy, we used to do this, we used to do that. We used to go to the Apollo. We used to see from the Temptations, the Four Tops. The Temptations is the Four Tops, where we used to go to the Apollo. That was in Harlem, and they used to introduce us. Thurman and I, we used to go with Bobby Bonds and Mickey Rivers and Jim Ray Hart. And, I mean, all these guys we used to go with. And I mean, it was part of life that we lived on and off the field. It was great.
Okay. And I want to give people the opportunity to order it. triumphbooks.com/The Captain and Me. Is that?
You could go to Amazon. If you want to order the book, you go to Amazon and you go to Ron, R-O-N. My last name is Blomberg. It's not two O's, it's one. BLOMBERG, Yankees.com. Okay. Or in the next 2 weeks, you can go to my, no, I'm sorry. No. Well, I made a mistake. I'm not good technically. You could go to Amazon. You could go to my website. You go to the website. No, I'm sorry. You go to Amazon and you look it up, and you can order the book on Amazon, pre-order. Or you could go to my website, and my website in 2 weeks is Ron Blomberg, Yankees.com. Okay. And you could go to mine, and I'll sign the signature, and they could go to my book, and I'll send them with the signature on it.
Okay, and that's April 20th that's available.
Correct. Yes, it is.
All right.
Yes.
What other? I know you're obviously a very colorful guy. You told me early on that you're a walking microphone, which is a great description. So I'm sure you've got some great memories of some other teammates. Who are some of those teammates you'd like to talk about?
Well, I mean, I played with a lot of them. I mean, from Catfish Hunter to Ron Guidry to Reggie to, Chris Chambliss to Bucky Dent to Goose Gossage to Mickey Rivers to Oscar Gamble to Greg Nettles. I played with, Don Gullett. I played with a lot of them. And, that's why they called us the Bronx Zoo. We're very, we're not the most introverted type of guys. I mean, people didn't realize, and even in our books, we wrote about the times that Reggie and Thurman had their misfortune of fighting with one another. There was Mickey Rivers and Reggie got into a few fights. There was Cliff Johnson and Goose Gossage got into a fight. We'll have that into the book. And it's really great. I mean, because we're very, back then, we're just like, it was like, how can you say it? It's like the hippie ages. Everybody had a mustache. Everybody had long hair.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, George didn't like it.
Yeah.
But what could George do? Because we were winning. And there was a time that it was myself and Thurman and Catfish and Pinella. We went in, and George called us in before a ball game. And as soon as we walked into his office upstairs, there was a barber up there. He wanted to give us a haircut, and we told him, screw you. And we said a few other things. I'm hitting 406 through August. Thurman's hitting like 320. Pinella's hitting 300. And Catfish is winning quite a few ball games. And we left there and we thought we got released. And the next day, we go to the ballpark and George gave everybody a letter. Within the letter, he said, "I respect all of y'all." They gave us $100 bills. And now back then, David, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, when I first signed with when I came up to the big leagues, when I was making like $15,000 a year, these guys now, after 1 year, got as much money as I did for my 9 years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And, but people don't realize, I mean, we got these guys into a position with Marvin Miller and Donald Fear when the free agency came around. But we never thought it was going to be like this. I remember hitting in 1973, they gave me a $500 raise and I hit 329. The next year I hit 311, they took my $500 back. And then next year I hit 301, they didn't even talk about a raise to me. And you look at these ball players now, you look at Gary Sanchez, who hit $144 last year. I'm not taking anything because they had a crazy year last year.
Right.
But he hit a $144 and they say, well, we're just going to give you $1 million raise. And, back then, I mean, some of these guys, are making, $300 million for their career. They could have bought our whole league back then.
Yeah.
They could have bought our whole league because
right.
George bought the team for 9,300,000, I believe, or 9 million something. Yeah. And these guys nowadays, everybody on the Yankees are making, I mean, the average salary is like $10 to $12 million.
Yeah.
And you have to look at this. And I said, we must have been very successful with Marvin Miller and Donald Fear to make these guys money because we made like $3.50 for meal money. These guys make like $200 for meal money.
Yeah.
And hey, but we live in a different world.
Yeah.
But you could not ever take away from what we have in the game when we used to play. And, we have lost a lot of guys because a lot of people have passed away, but the guys that are still around, we're very, very close with, from Mickey Rivers to let me see, Goose Gossage, from Reggie, all Nettles, guys like that we're very, very close with. And we do a lot of stuff at the stadium. But I wouldn't give that away. Money couldn't even pay for that. Yeah. Because what we did with our players, we became one big, happy family. And we had a fight every single day in the clubhouse. And that's what, if the people get the book, they'll read about the fights.
Speaking of fights, there's a very famous one between one of the players that you were just talking about, Reggie Jackson, and Billy Martin, also ironically in Fenway Park. Just talk about playing for Billy during the latter stages of your career at the Yankees.
Well, Billy was a different type of guy. Billy came in 1973 when we had Bill Verdon was our manager. And then as soon as George came in, all of a sudden, the whole management team left. They got fired by Gay Paul. And all of a sudden, you had Mr. Billy Martin. And everybody knew Billy. Everybody knew what type of guy he was. And he was a type of guy that you hopefully, if he was around, if he made the game, sometimes Billy would maybe forget to come to a game, or maybe come to a game in about the 7th or the 8th inning. And if we had a day game, he thought it was a night game. So sometimes that, thank God that Billy always would had the lineup and give the lineup to Elston Howard or Dick Hauser. And we would have the lineup. But that was the type of guy Billy was. Billy was a guy that once he's on the field, he would do anything in the world to razzle the other team, to razzle the umpire, and maybe to razzle us a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was the type of guy he was. And, and we understood that. And I think Billy was better for the younger guys because he got into people's faces. The older guys, he would not get into the faces with as much because we knew his style of coaching and we knew that we had to perform well because it wasn't just him. It was a man that was up in the press box in his suite by the boss, George Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
And you better, if you knew that if you did not run hard for a ball or catch a ball or to go from first to third when you should, if it was a mental mistake, he doesn't like mental mistakes.
Yeah.
You don't know if you will be on the team the next day. Sometimes I've seen rookies have made a major mistake. He would go after the ball game. His stuff would already be packed. And Pete Sheehy, who was our clubhouse attendant, who had been with the team for like 70 years since Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb and Lou Gehrig and all those guys. And George would call down and you knew the guy is no longer going to be there because when he took a shower and just got undressed, there was no clothes there. Everything was packed for him to leave. So, I mean, that's why they call it the Bronx Zoo.
Yeah.
Because the Bronx Zoo, I don't know if you ever read the Bronx Zoo about the Sparky Lau wrote the book. And that was an unbelievable book, of course. And that was us.
Yeah.
People, we had to have at least one fight before every game. And it could be a good fight or maybe a push down fight or, have a fight.
Yeah.
On the field at the stadium, we just, we had fights before the ball game. But when we're out on the field, we produced.
Yeah.
We won games. We had a great team. But after the game, before the game, that's fair game right there.
Yeah.
So you never knew who was going to fight.
My all-time favorite Billy Martin story. I'm working on a book. I'm not too far along with it, but I want to talk to sports writers and sportscasters around the country. The top 10 sporting events they've seen in person. And I figured nobody cares about my top 10, but if I'm writing the book, I at least have to put that in there. Number one on my list was I was at the Pine Tar game. And I remember my wife was with me and when Brett hit the home run, as he's heading down between third and home, my wife said, "What's Billy Martin doing?" I said, "Oh, he's going to protest something. That's just what he's an instigator." And so they grabbed the bat and said, "What's he complaining about?" I said, "Well, he's probably going to say George has cork in his bat." She said, "Does he?" I said, "No." And then they laid the bat down on home plate and said, "Now what's he doing?" I said, "Oh, he's probably going to say that George uses too much pine tar." She said, "Well, does he?" And I said, "Yeah, probably." And said, "What happens if the ump agrees?" And as I say, "Look out," Tim McClellan points to the dugout and calls George out. And that place just erupted. That's just typical Billy Martin, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he stirred the pot.
Yeah.
And that was the type of guy he was.
Yeah.
But if you look at George's bat, I mean, he had pine tar from the handle up to the barrel.
Yeah.
And I never used pine tar, to be honest with you. But when I saw, you look at his bat. I mean, back then you could just, go into the other clubhouse and they take in batting practice, and you see the bat. I mean, nobody would say anything about. Of course, who said something, and Thurman said something because I think he hit a home run. Did he hit he hit the home run?
Yeah,
and he was running around the base, and as soon as George got to home, the umpire had a bat like that, and George went back to the bench. And, of course, and then Billy comes up there with Thurman and, they're doing the bats and this and whatever, because at that time, I think it was a rule that you have to have you couldn't have your pine tar above your, 6-8 inches above, but he had it all the way to the top, and he threw it out. And they destroyed, and the place in New York City went nuts.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was unbelievable. It was great.
And I live in Kansas City. I was born in Kansas City. So I was there as a Royals fan. We were living in New York at the time, but I was there as a Royals fan. I remember walking out and feeling that stadium shaking. And I said to my wife, I don't think they can call him out after the fact. They could take the bat and say, you can't use this, but I don't think they can disallow what has happened. I wouldn't be surprised if they change this. And she said, do they do that? I said, you never hear an appeal being upheld. I think this one has a chance. And obviously they did that. And Billy, of course, made a travesty of the rest of the makeup game. I think he had Guidry in center, and he had somebody left-handed throwing second baseman. But before they started the game, he appealed that Brett missed first, second, and third base. And the umpiring crew was so prepared because it was a different crew that umpired the rest of the game. The umpire pulls out an affidavit signed by all four of those umpires that, yes, Brett had touched all of those bases. Yep. So people were prepared for Billy Martin. I bet he was fun to play. I mean, other than the fact that he was just a hothead, maybe, he was probably fun to play for, wasn't he?
Well, was he fun to play for? You really, on the bench, the games, Billy was funny. I love Billy. Billy was good. I mean, he was good-hearted. If he didn't like you, he would destroy you. He didn't care what anybody thought about him. He was that type of, but to play with him, I mean, he played the game of baseball how it should be played. First to third, bunting, stealing. You knew that you're going to be running. You knew you're going to be playing the game small ball, and you're going to go long ball. You knew you were going to play baseball. That was the only way that Billy knew how to play, because back in their era, hey, you played baseball. Now. People always ask me, would Billy do well in this game now? No. Oh, he would hate it. Number one, he would not take any type of criticism from Cash. If Cash said something to him, or, that would not work. Small ball, where the shift, he would not have done that. If somebody hits a home run and flip the bat up 25 feet up in the air, he would have juiced the guy in the head, or the next pitch would be in the head or in the back, depends on who he was. If he likes the guy, he might not hit him hard. He would hit him in the elbow or the back. He would hit him. The guys he didn't like, every pitch would be right here. Every pitch would be right there. But you knew that was a game of baseball.
Yeah.
And you don't sling the bat 400 feet up, and you don't take the ball after you catch a ball in the outfield and throw it in center field and to right field to left field. We wouldn't have enough balls.
Yeah.
Back nowadays, you go in the clubhouse, they got 600 billion balls.
Yeah.
Just stacked up like 3-story high. Back when we played, they brought in 3-4 dozen game of baseballs. You foul a ball, you bring it back in, you put it on the mound. Once in a while, the pitchers love those balls because they scuffed. Nowadays, a catcher will get the ball, and as soon as, every pitch, they throw it off. They throw it off every pitch. And I'm saying to myself, my God, they didn't even touch the ball. They throwing it off. The pitcher, the pitcher say, I want another ball. I want another ball. And they just throw it off like it's nothing. So the game of baseball has totally changed. You run out, Billy would run out on the field, or Catfish would be pitching, or Gossage would be pitching, Sparky would be, one of those guys would be pitching. And they having a tough inning, and you have those guys that they get paid by the innings that they throw. They have an incentive. Are they coming out of the game? No.
Yeah.
No. No. As soon as he walks out there, he doesn't even look at the pitcher. He looks at Thurman. Thurman will make the decision. Should they keep him or take him out?
Yeah.
And, right off the bat, Thurman would come out the bat and talk to the pitcher before Billy would come out there. And, a pitcher 95% of the time will say, I'm staying in there. Ed Figueroa, they're not going to come out. Nowadays, after like 50 pitches, they're out. And they don't care. But when you have a 4-year deal and that, incentive, what are you going to do? How are you going to put in incentive if you're making $10 million? Well, we'll give you $100,000 incentive. They said that wouldn't even build a swimming pool at my house. They live in $20 million houses.
Yeah.
We lived in an apartment paying $300 a month. And back then that was a lot of money. But now, Billy was a type of guy that, you have to adjust to, and you have to understand that when you have a Billy Martin and you have a George Steinbrenner and you have a Gay Paul, they're watching every move you make. And if you do something incorrectly, they're going to do something about it. You're on tiptoes at all times because you had that 1-year contract.
Yeah.
And like I said before, you get, they put you down to the minor leagues. You don't get called back up there. You're just going to die in the minor leagues.
I appreciate your time. I want to wrap up with this question. What do you miss most about your playing career?
Oh, just playing in front of the fans. The New York fans are the greatest fans in the whole wide world. Playing up in New York, wearing that Yankee pinstripes, that was the best. That was the best. Going to Yankee Stadium. Nowadays, I'm at the stadium all the time. Unfortunately, I haven't been for a little while, but playing with the Yankees and, being part of the stadium, being part of New York, just seeing those Yankee fans. And when I got on this Facebook, the social media stuff, I have no idea technically how to do it. I had people to do it for me. And I already it's really funny. After like 9 months, I got close to almost 30,000 people. And it's been fun. And, people like yourself, after your career is over with, it's nice for people like yourself and to go on your, to Zoom and for your fans and to meet people like yourself. It's wonderful. And, I just miss the fans. And I just, hey, you do everything you can. And, it's a career divorce, what you go through. It's very difficult. But very, very lucky that with these books and these podcasts and see all my friends up at the stadium during the season. And hey, this is a time right now. It's been very, very difficult for everybody. And that's why I did this Facebook and to give back to my fans and they're going through a hard time just like everybody else.
Sure. And
to make them laugh. And that's why they got to get my book. If you hear this, you got to get my book. You're going to love it. You're going to see fights. You're going to see everything. You're going to see, you'll see everything in the whole world. It's The Captain and Me, on and off the field. Go get my book. You'll love it. I promise to you.
Yeah. And as an author, and I'm no disrespect to Amazon, a lot of people get stuff from Amazon. As an author, I know for sure you're going to make more money if people wait 2 weeks and get it from you, from your website, rather than getting on Amazon. So I'm going to strongly suggest to my listeners today that they wait a couple of weeks and go to ronblombergyankees.com.
It is with 1 O, not 2 O's.
Right. Ron
It's
Blomberg with 1
1
O. ronblombergyankees.com, and get the book there. He'll autograph it for you, and he'll make more money, which is obviously an important part of it. Ron, thank you very much for taking the time. I enjoyed this very much.
David, thank you very much. The best of luck to you. Go Yankees. And I don't know if you're a Royal fan.
I am.
Yeah, you are.
I might have to delete
KC.
that last comment.
I know that. And the good part about KC are the barbecue places like Arthur Bryant's and all those people.
Oh, yeah.
And I got some many, many good friends and from the John Mayberries and the Friday Potacks and the Amos Otis. And those guys, they're great. And I love KC, but New York Yankees are number one. Remember that.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Sports Connections with David Smale. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and rate the show from your favorite podcast platform. You can learn more about David Smale and his work by visiting davidsmalebooks.com. Don't forget to join us weekly for new episodes. Until next time.